Alright, so in this video we're checking out the ViFLY ShortSaver. This is an electronic fuse smoke stopper. So in the past you've probably seen videos on my channel and other channels on these guys. These are your traditional smoke stoppers. This is one with basically a light bulb from a car, and it basically if you have a short or a fault in your build, and like say for example reverse polarity, that's a common mistake, you know, negative to positive, and that will cause the basically the magic smoke to come out and will fry whatever component's been shorted. These smoke stoppers prevent the magic smoke from coming out. So this one here is the light bulb version, and this one here is, I think there's a fuse in here that you could replace. And there's, you know, pros and cons to these as well, and I'm not going to get into those in this video, but I'm going to talk about this guy here. So this has a series of electronic resettable fuses, and it's got XT30 and XT60 connectors, so you don't have to use any adapters. You just use whatever batteries you have and connectors you have on your drone, so that's nice. The default configuration of this is set to a 3 millisecond reaction time, and there's a little switch here for 1 amp and 2 amps for the overcurrent protection. So I'll show you how that works. Basically, if there's a short in your system, you're going to get a current surge, and that will kick this in. So once the current reaches 1 amp within 3 milliseconds, this will kick in and cut off the power, and that's how the smoke stopper works. You can adjust those things, those settings. For example, if you want to increase the current to 2 amps, you can do that. But then, of course, as you increase the current, that may increase the risk of something getting something shorted or blown out or basically fried. So on some components, some sensitive components on your flight controller, for example, 2 amps will fry it. So you may want to adjust that with some caution. I'll show you what some differences are here in a second with some actual drones. And then there's these S and N pads here on the back that adjust the reaction time. So if you short basically or bridge the S pads there, it'll adjust the reaction time from 3 milliseconds to 5 milliseconds, and if you do the N instead, it goes from, I think it's 3 to 7, 7 milliseconds here. So those are the things you can adjust, and then basically there's a green and a red LED. I'll show you that here in a second. So let me just show you how quickly how this works. So they suggest plugging in the battery first, and then plug this into your drone. So plug the battery in first here. So you have an XT30. This is just a 453S battery, and you get a green light, means everything's good. So I got a drone here we're going to test out, and plug this in, and there's no short in this. This is a working drone, and I'll show you that's working. And you can see here that the light stays green, which means that the system is not drawing more than 1 amp, which is what it should do. Now if I arm this and the motor starts spinning up, then it'll start drawing more than 1 amp, and then it'll kick in and the light will turn red. So this is actually a good way to, for example, if you're lazy and don't want to take the props off when you're updating your ESC firmware, if for example something goes wrong and the motor starts spinning up, this will kick in and will cut off the power, and the motors will stop spinning. So this is a smoke stopper is a common way for people to do ESC firmware updates and not have to take the props off. Although I still recommend taking the props off. You never know; this might not actually prevent that. Okay, so here's another build here, and there's no short in this. I've actually tested this with a multimeter, but you'll see that the overcurrent protection will kick in. Now, if you don't know how to use a multimeter, basically this is what I usually do to check if there's any shorts in my system. So you just turn on your multimeter to obviously this it's like continuity mode is what it's called, and you usually have to make it audible. So go into this mode where it's audible, and if there's a short in your system, you get a beep. So if negative and positive are shorted, you get a beep. And so what I usually do is I just go to like the XT60 or XT30 connector, and I just put my probes on both. And if there's a short in the system like this, if you touch them, you'll get a beep. And so that means there's continuity somewhere in the system. This is basically how you can test for continuity in your drone, in your build, just using a multimeter. But that doesn't tell you if there's any overcurrent draw beyond a certain point. So we'll show you that with a ViFLY ShortSaver. Okay, so back to the ShortSaver here. Got the battery still connected. Got the green light. Go ahead and plug this in. So you can see here, there's no shorts in the system, but the red light kicked in here, and that's because it's drawing more than 1 amp within the 3 millisecond time period. And I think it is because this build here has a video transmitter. I think it's set to 200 milliwatts, and then it's got a Caddx turtle on here, and these things draw a little bit more current. Even though there's no motor spinning, it's drawing more than 1 amp within that 3 millisecond time space. So what I'm going to do is I'll just bump this up from 1 amp to 2 amps like this. And let's go ahead and reset this here and plug this back in. And we've got a green light. And now you'll see that within the 2 amp limit, this will be fine. And the green light will stay on. So if you have certain builds where it's drawing a little bit more current, you want to see if you're okay with going to 2 amps. You can test that there and actually make sure there's actually nothing wrong with that. I've actually tested this. I've actually tested this and spun up the motors, and this build's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that you may run into the situation where the light turns on because it trips the overcurrent protection at 1 amp. The other thing you can do is either bridge the S pads here to increase the time to 5 milliseconds to 3 milliseconds. And I kind of wish they would not use a solder bridge because you have to take this heat shrink off. I wish they had like a switch here, like on the side for this. So maybe in version 2 they would do that for those to adjust that more easily. Anyway, so it's a basic overview of how this works and what you would use it for. I'm actually going to be, I got a couple more of these I'm going to be giving away on my Instagram. I don't have it posted yet, so you want to be follow me on Instagram if you want to pick up one of these for free. Yeah, just it's not. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to post it. It's going to be pretty soon, so sometime after this video is posted. And that's if you want to pick up one of these, I'll be doing it over on Instagram, not on YouTube. Anyway, it's going to do it for this video. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.